Well, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to do on this video is we're going to make a well house. Had the well put in this year, which is a blessing, but I want to try and get this thing under cover before the snow flies, so I'm kind of in a time crunch. We're making an 8x10 building. Used a lot of my rough cut lumber for some of it. But first things first is I got to make some forms. We're going to make 16-inch by 16-inch pads down that I can put my pier blocks on top of. So it's going to be a 2x6 16-inch square with some wire in it to give it some rigidity and strength, and then put it down there, get those formed up. Once they're set, then I can put the pier blocks on it and we can start building. Eventually this building is going to have a pressure tank in it and probably a water filtration because we got a little bit of iron in this water. But let me get started. Bag mixed up and pop that off, and then start on the next one. Well, I have half of them poured. There's going to be 6 pads. So all the 2x6s I have for forms. So those will have to sit up overnight. I'll see how they are, if I can take them off and do the rest tomorrow, or if I have to let them sit 2 days. I'll cover them up with a tarp or plastic. They don't get rained on or anything. But I wanted to talk about the concrete I'm using. Here in Alaska, 5,000 plus high early strength concrete mix, Sacrete's what I used. With the extreme weather temperatures, anything less than 5,000 psi tends to deteriorate over the course. So try not to use anything less than 5,000. It's great if you can get this stuff with fiber in it, but they didn't have any stuff with the fiber in it at the time, so 5,000 is going to have to work. Okay, there we go. I've got footings poured. What I'm going to do is floating footings. That way it's low enough below the wellhead that I can do that, and if there's any frost heave I can get in and shim and level that way. But right now that's how it's going to be. I'm going to lay everything out at 16-inch on centers, so I have a little bit more floor support in there, because I'm going to be putting a generator in there, and at some point possibly a water filter to take the stuff out of the water in the well. And I'm going to be using last year's rough cut lumber, 2x6 for my floor joists, which will be fine. They're up off the ground and it'll be sheathed over the end, so they shouldn't get any weather. And then we'll go from there. Let me get it laid out at 16-inch centers, cut my 2x6s, and then I'll put them down. Once I get it cut at 92.5 square inches in, I'm marking in 1 foot. So I have the 4x6s 6 foot apart, which makes it a foot overhang on each side. I don't know if you can see that. You can see the line marked there on the 16-inch center. Now the next one is going to be close for 16. It's going to be fairly close to the pipe, and then I'm going to have one on the other side, and then what I'll do is I'll box around it. So when I put the flooring in, that's all it'll be, and I'll put a box all the way to the ground, so it won't be an opening as easy for the varmints to get in. But well, I'm going to take a break from working on the pump house today. The reason is I got a dozer showing up, and we're going to clear this whole area here. Some of these trees are going to come down. We're going to flatten it out. I need about 50 feet out, 50 foot sideways, maybe a little bit more, because we have a set of house plans drawn up that we would like to put a house right here, 32 by 32. So the dozer will be here in a little bit. I've cleaned out the wood pile that was right there, And hopefully we can get all this flattened down. This big tree here is going to come down, probably that birch and that leaning birch over there, and then just push out over to the edge like that, and that'll open this up. We'll get it open, ready for hopefully next year we can get the house in, because it's getting too late in the season now. But that's the game plan for today. Fits right down there. I put the aluminum side down so mice and stuff don't like chewing aluminum. And I just got the rest to do. I'll go over 2 more and I can get the first sheet down, possibly the second sheet down, and then I'm going to have to cut around the pipe and figure that out. So, got 2 pieces down. Cut open the window where I'm going to put the shield down in there. I'm going to put another piece of foam down, then I'll rip the other flooring to put it in there. I've chalk lined where my joists are, nailed it down with ring shanks. I use spray foam along the edge of the foam board, and it acts like glue to the boards. That's what I did down in the bunkhouse. I have absolutely 0 squeaks in the floor in the bunkhouse using the spray foam, and it seals up any gaps that you get when you're putting the spray foam down. Seals that up so you don't get critters coming up from underneath. They don't like eating through the aluminum bottom of the Artec, and they don't like spray foam, so that helps keep the rodents and everything from coming up. So I'm going to get this floor done, and then we'll get to framing walls. So one of the things I love about being out here where I'm at is just listen. Total peace and quiet. It's dark. We got a beautiful moon up there. Full moon almost. Pretty close. It's just peaceful. It's a little chilly. It's like 28. But it's that time of year. Time to get started though. It's a little after 6. I'm framing my two walls, then one on top of the other. I moved it down a little bit so I'm not over that bump yet. When I stand it up, then I'll be able to do it. So I'll slide this one side off on this side, just lean it at a slight angle. I'll be able to lift it up. But there's the walls are starting to go together. Notice I put a California corner on both sides there, which will allow the front and the back to have an anchor point. Let me finish up. Go. So we'll get a 2x6 here up lower height, and there'll be a header in there. And all four walls are up. It's pretty level. go. So I put nails down about an inch below to set the board on. Got the top corner where I wanted it, and I was able to lift it so it's straight all the way across. Well, I'm trying to get the top plates on. It's 15 degrees out. My camera keeps dying because of the cold. But I'll see what I can get. We'll go from there. The top plate, you want to try and put the nails right above where the studs are. Straight the wall as you go. Come back with the hammer and tap a few down. The only thing you want to do is since this wall went out past that way and this one butts up to it, your top plate you run past, so you tie the two together. So I don't know if you can see through the sun. Got both of them tied that way. It's going across, and then I'm not going to put that top plate on yet until I get my header in, so I can kind of nail the cripples. But I do have my 2x6s cut for the door frame. As you know, I'm making my own door frame, like I did on the tool shed. And you can stagger going up on these. two at the bottom, two at the top. Like I said, I'll have to go back with the hammer and tap some of those in. It's cold. The gun's not running right, but then put another 2x6 across the top. I got my sill plate there that will go down, and then I'll router out like I did before for the hinges. Get that in, but I got to make a header still for that. So I'm gonna keep going. Cold weather is really hard on my batteries, but anyways, I've got the ceiling joists up, except for this last one because I don't have a 2x6. I gotta go look at the other cabin, see if it is, so I can get that header in first. Everything's 2 foot on center. The rafters will come down on this side, the back side of each of these ceiling joists, nail in. I've got these anchored with 6-inch log screws, so they're solid. And then of course in the center I'll have a support going up to the peak of each rafter off of this. I'm going to use 2x4 rafters. That's what I used on the tool shed over there. And it held up over the winter just fine. We're only spanning 8 feet total, so it's more than enough to hold it at a 412 and a metal roof. It's just going to have purlins, it's not going to be sheeted. So that's kind of where we're at. So now I'm going to get some Tyvek on the outside of this before I put the rafters up. That way I'm not fighting rafter tails. Putting it up, get it wrapped, and then we'll go get us a 2x6, finish this out, and then start on building our rafters. Feet out. So this here should be my pattern for that side. I'll cut it and see how it fits. I feel like taking a walk out here in the woods. This is the area where a bear had been hanging out. I don't know if it's a active den or not. I know the top's in, but that'll cover with snow. But that's piles and piles of bear poop from the spring. And because it's getting colder, I'll probably come back. And so I put my camera up. I'll leave it there through the winter and see what we get. And who knows, maybe next spring we'll have some good pictures. We'll see. But this is where I'm at. Not too far from where my tree stand was, about 100 yards. If you watched my hunting video. Still cold out, but not as bad as it was this morning. Go. These get screwed and nailed top. Solid. They all fit nice and tight. There's no gaps in them. So now it's a matter, I gotta cut the tails off 6 foot mark, like a straight line, cut them all off. Show you how I do that. Up for front metal. So what I did is I made my mark. I actually did 67, just under 6 feet. I didn't want too much of an overhang. I chalk lined it. Then what I'll do is I'll put my level on it. Hold it towards level, just like that, and draw a line. So it'll look like that. And that's what I'll cut. I'll cut that with my cordless saw. And then I'll make all the tails the same. So I have a square roof. So there we go. There's two. I'll cut those real quick and move on down the line and cut them off. And then cut it. The reason I did 67, it's a little bit under 6 feet. One, you never want more than 2 inches overhang on your metal in the snow country, because as the ice builds up on the end, it can cause it to rip and break. So 2 inches is the max from what I've been taught. So that's what I'm going to do. It gives me a little bit extra. All I'm using is repurposed metal. So I don't know how much I have, how much I'm going to have to buy. But right now, we're going to start with this and hopefully get this roof on today before snow starts flying in a couple of days. Well, I don't even see it, but I got half the roof done. Still got to get the door in the front. And still got to get the other half of the roof done. I got enough metal for it. I went through and counted. But unfortunately, I'm going to have surgery on my left hand tomorrow, so I'm going to be down to one hand. I do have some friends coming this next week, hopefully weather permitting. They're going to utilize my sawmill and mill up all my board and batten for it. So who knows? Maybe we'll get it done. At least the roof on and the door on, which would be nice. If not, then it's going to have to sit till next spring when my hand can be utilized again. So we'll see. Well, with the help of friends, obviously I've had my hand, had surgery on it, so I'm limited in what I do. With the help of friends, at least we got a roof covering this for the snow, and it's snowing today. I don't know if you can see the flakes coming down. There's my fellow off-gridder right there that came over and helped do the roof. And I have 2 Air Force veterans that are here milling up the boards for the board and batten. So they'll sit over the winter and season, and then I'll get them up first thing in the spring. So that's about as much as I'm going to get done on the well house this year. So everything's coming along, slow but sure. If I wouldn't have had surgery, would have been able to get this whole thing done. But thanks for watching. I'm going to get back to milling, or helping to mill. And God bless. See you guys on the next video.